Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Recha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Leviticus, the 11th chapter, dealing with the dietary laws. And the Lord Yahweh spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. And what that means is the beasts that are about to be mentioned are the lawful beasts that you could eat. Whatsoever parteth the hoof, and is cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that shall ye eat. Now, a cloven-footed animals, it looks like that. Its hoof is divided. All right, it's actually divided. That's what it means by parting the hoof. So it looks almost like it's cut in half, like that. So when you look up here, you'll see a good amount of animals here. It says cloven-footed animals, also known as even-toed ungulates, have hooves split into two toes, providing better balance on varied terrain. This group includes common farm animals like cows, sheep, goats, and pigs, as well as wild animals such as deer, antelope, moose, and hippos, and even camelids like llamas and camels, etc., etc. So that is the part about the animals that part the hoof and are cloven-footed, right? Same thing. Now, chew with the cud is what separates them, right? So the Lord says here, the beasts that have both, they have to be both cloven-footed and they have to chew the cud. If they do both, then they're lawful for you to eat. And chewing the cud means that, let me just pull it up here. Cheweth the cud. Yeah. So it says here, refers to ruminant animals like cows, sheep, deer, that regurgitate partially digested food, otherwise known as the cud, from their stomach to chew it again. And that part, because their stomach is broken up, like a sheep, for example, is broken up into four parts. And the part where when they graze, or when they you see them eating the grass and everything, it goes first into the rumen, which is a part of their stomach where the partially digested food goes. And it isn't until later on that they basically bring it back up from that part of their stomach, and then they chew it further and break it down further, and then they swallow it again, or they take it back down for better or proper digestion, which is what you're seeing here. All right, it says here, so they regurgitate partially digested food, so they bring it back up, and that partially digested food is called the cud, from their stomach to chew it again, breaking down tough plants for nutrients. This also allows them to, like, graze faster as well. And I remember when we were younger, my dad, had basically like a farm, right? So he had a lot of sheep and all of that. And you would see, like randomly, I remember in the sheep pen where they were, you'd see them chewing. They always looked like they were chewing and chewing and chewing. And I would wonder, like, I just thought they were just like grinding their teeth because I was much younger at the time, or they were just moving their mouth. But sometimes there wouldn't be any grass or anything for them to actually be chewing on in their holding space, right? But yet they're chewing. And I'm like, wait, you pretty much, they let you out because you would open the gate and they'd run out all of them and they'd go, and then they'd go and eat They go and graze and so on and so forth. Then they come back. But like hours later, you'd see them chewing. And I'm wondering, what are you chewing? Where is it coming from? Obviously now you understand, or I understand, that they were bringing that cud back up, right, and then chewing it again to properly break it down. So as it says here, breaking down tough plants for nutrients, a process also called rumination, often used in the Bible to define clean/unclean animals, alongside having a cloven hoof, symbolizing deep reflection or spiritual meditation. So going back to Leviticus 11 and 4. So those are the animals you can eat. It has to be both cloven footed and it has to chew the cud. So now you know chewing the cud is not just eating grass, but that specific process of regurgitation to re-chew and then digest. Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof. So you have animals that either chew the cud or they divide, their hoof is divided, but it's not both. So these animals which fall under that category you're not supposed to eat. As the camel, because he cheweth the cud, so you'll see the camel does that same process of rumination, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. So if you look at a camel's feet, hilarious. I'm not even going to use that. I'll just go with camel feet. All right. So when you look at it, at first glance, you might think, wait, but it looks divided, but it's actually not, right? When you look at the bottom of it, it's more of a paw, like a pad under here. So their feet are not actually cloven. So even though they chew the cud, because they're not actually cloven footed, as it says here, um, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. So you're not supposed to be eating camel. And the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And I believe when you look into this word, I think it's a hyrax, shapan, yeah, a hyrax, rock badger, coney. Let's look that up here. Coney, not island. Yeah, this is what they have it as, the hyrax. And a lot of these animals, if you just type their names in there, it'll tell you what they are. But anyway, this one cheweth the cud, but it divideth not the hoof, so it's also unclean. And the hare, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the swine, which is your pig, your pork, though he divide the hoof, so it's and be cloven footed. So pigs are cloven footed, right? You look at their hooves, it is divided. But he cheweth not the cud. Meaning, yeah, they may eat anything, even grass or whatnot, but they don't chew the cud. They don't have that, that rumen where they store the partially digested food, bring it back up to chew it again. So they are unclean unto you. Verse 8, of their flesh. So not now it's telling you it's unclean, and specifically what your instructions are concerning these unclean animals. Of their flesh shall ye not eat, and their carcass shall ye not touch. They are unclean unto you. So these unclean animals, you're not supposed to really touch their carcass, right? Their dead bodies, because they'll make you unclean. And also, you're not supposed to eat their flesh. Okay, and there you go. That's that pork and all that. You're not supposed to eat that. These shall ye eat of all that are in the waters. Now moving on to the fish. Whatsoever hath fins and scales in the waters, in the seas, and in the rivers, them shall ye eat. So it's a pretty simple rule. If it has both fins and scales, then you can eat it, right? And all that have not fins and scales in the seas. So if it doesn't have both, and in the rivers, of all that move in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination unto you. You're not supposed to eat it. So your lobster, your shrimp, your crabs, your clams, your oysters, your squids, All of those things you're not supposed to be eating. Verse 11, they shall be even an abomination unto you. Ye shall not eat of their flesh, but ye shall have their carcass in abomination. In other words, you're not supposed to eat of their flesh, and their carcass, which is their dead body, is abominable. And technically, right, if you really look at it on a technical standpoint, we eat carcass of animals, right? Because if you look up what a carcass is, what is a carcass? Carcass. The dead body of an animal. So, what happens when you go to the store and you buy lamb or you buy, beef or you buy chicken? It's dead, right? So that's the carcass of the animal. It's the dead body. Even in the ancient world, when you would kill the animal, you're now dealing with the carcass. So that's why it mentions here the carcass here, right? Um, the the clean animals, we eat of their carcass. We eat of their dead body because you kill it before you eat it. You prepare it and everything. But of the unclean animals, that's why it mentions their carcass will be an abomination, right? To even touch, let alone eat. Verse 12, whatsoever hath no fins nor scales in the waters, that shall be an abomination unto you. So it has to have both, or else it's an abomination. And these are they which ye shall have in abomination among the fowls. So concerning birds, they shall not be eaten, they are an abomination. The eagle, and this is verse 13, okay. I'm going to pull this up here in with the NKJV in the parallel. Because it uses for some of these more modern animal names. And also sometimes when you see it says eagle, sometimes like it's going into like a type of vulture, you know. So it says here, and these are they which ye shall have in abomination among the fowls, so the birds, they or the winged creatures, they shall not be eaten, they are an abomination. So you have the eagle and the ossifrage and the osprey. And when you look that up here, that's the um, free bearded vulture. This joint right here. Now, if you even just see this and you think this is appetizing, I think you have there's a bigger problem on your hands. Okay, there's a much bigger problem on your hands. But as it says, it's a bird of prey, and you notice most of the birds that are unclean to us are birds of prey. All right, so they hunt and they go and they go and tear up that other meat. This one, on the other hand, now this tells you this one here. See if um, let me see. I was afraid. In one of the AI overviews, it tells you that they it signifies bone breaker, right? They eat bones, and then they bathe in what highly was it water or something like that with high iron to get that orange dye. Let me see. What do eat? There you go. Ossifrage or bearded vultures primarily eat bones and bone marrow, making them unique scavengers. They drop large bones from heights to shatter them, then swallow smaller pieces whole, or consume the marrow with stomach acid strong enough to digest bone within 24 hours. Damn. Getting essential nutrients like calcium and fat. While bones are their main diet, they also consume other carrion reptiles like tortoises, birds, and mammals when available, often near mountainous regions. So, you ain't supposed to be eating this one. And the other one was the osprey. And that looks like this. All right, it says here it is historically known as sea hawk or river hawk and fish hawk. A diurnal fish-eating bird of prey with a cosmopolitan range. Beautiful. It says, and the vulture, and the kite after his kind. And when you look in here, sometimes you look into some of these words. We know vultures in general you're not supposed to eat, so you stay away from that. So when you go into the word vulture, it's a fast flying bird of prey. They have it here as probably referring to the kite. But as it says, a vulture, and we know what a vulture is, those disgusting looking creatures. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I speak as a man. Uh, it says here, a hawk, falcon, or a kite. Okay, so you're not supposed to be eating falcons, you're not supposed to be eating hawks, all right, or kites. Every raven after his kind, you ain't supposed to be eating the raven either. And the owl, and the nighthawk, and the cuckoo, and the hawk after his kind. Then here, I believe it's either the nighthawk or the owl that goes into an ostrich. Let's take a look at the owl. An unclean bird, right? An owl, an ostrich, literally translated as daughters of the owl. So you're not supposed to be eating ostriches either. And the nighthawk, let's go into that. Name of the male ostrich, probably the great owl. So that's why I also pulled it up in the NKJV. What verse is that? Verse 16. Right. The ostrich, the short-eared owl, the seagull, right? That's what they have the cuckoo translated as, the seagull, and the hawk after his kind. And the little owl, and the cormorant, and the great owl. And if you just type in here, cormorant, you can see this is what it looks like. And usually you'll see this like on Animal Planet. They'll, dip their head in the water, catch the fish, toss it up, and then swallow it. So they began down like that. Where we at? Verse 18, and the swan and the pelican and the gyre eagle, which here goes into as it says, a carrion vulture, and the stork and the heron after her kind, and the lapwing and the bat. And let's look up here. Heron, which looks like this. And most of these creatures you've probably seen before, just, not maybe recognizable by name, but, most of the time you see that creature, it doesn't really look like something you want to cook up and eat. And there's a reason for that. And also mentioned the lapwing, which they translate as the hopo. It's kind of a funny looking one. Yeah, this one with the little thing on its head right there. So you're not supposed to be eating that either. It says in the bat, and I mean that you should definitely know to stay away from that. Anyway, it says all fowls that creep, going upon all four, shall be an abomination unto you. This is referring to insects. All right, the word fowls here, when you go into it, it's like a winged creature. So it's talking, and then it mentions creep on all fours. Birds don't creep on all fours, right? So here, when it mentions it, fowls are flying creatures, fowl insects, or winged insects. That's what it's referring to here. So now it's dealing with those. So concerning all winged insects going upon all four shall be an abomination unto you. For example, the beetle, right? Praying mantis. Yet these may ye eat of every flying creeping thing that goeth upon all four, which have legs above their feet, to leap withal upon the earth. So of the flying insects, the ones you can eat are ones that basically have, as it says here, jointed legs, so that they can like hop, like a grasshopper, or like a cricket, or a locust. Those are the ones you can eat, right? And it specifies, even these of them ye may eat. The locust after his kind, the bald locust, which is another type of locust, after his kind, and the beetle. The word beetle here is not talking about this kind of beetle, your typical big back beetle, you know. Yeah, it's not talking about these, okay? Because these go on all fours and they don't leap. It's talking about another type of locust, right? Or where's that at? Yeah, in the NKJV they have it as a cricket, but when you go into the word beetle here, it's, yeah, a kind of locust, right? A leaping creature. So it's not talking about those like an actual beetle. It says here, after his kind, and the grasshopper after his kind. But all other flying, creeping things which have 4 feet shall be an abomination unto you. So other, flying insects, and really insects in general, but flying insects, you ain't supposed to be in those. And for these ye shall be unclean, meaning for the following that are about to be listed, they're considered unclean, and if you deal with them, you're going to be unclean, right? Their carcass. Whosoever toucheth the carcass of them shall be unclean until the even, which is the evening. And whosoever beareth aught of the carcass of them to pick it up shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the even. The carcass of every beast which divideth the hoof and is not cloven footed, nor cheweth the cud. So its hooves are maybe divided, but not um, completely divided, right, into two, which is like cloven footed. So if we look up here, something like this, um, animal that divides hoof or hoof, but not cloven footed. Yeah, so if you see here, they have like the animals we listed above, right? It says here, the animals that divides its hoof but isn't fully cloven footed, often mentioned in religious texts, is a camel, for example, like we showed. So you see like the little toes, right? So it says the camel which chews the cud has a hoof split on top but attached below. That's why when you first look at it, it looks, let's look up the camel feet. It looks divided from the first, like right here, right at the top, but it's not cloven because you can see here the bottom is attached. So you're not supposed to eat that. It's unclean unto you. That's one example of these kinds of beasts that are mentioned here. It says here, nor cheweth the cud, right? So it divides the hoof, but it's not cloven footed, nor cheweth the cud. So if it doesn't chew the cud, are unclean unto you. Everyone that toucheth them shall be unclean. That is their carcass, because you ride camels, right, for transportation. So if you're unclean for riding that would be a interesting thing. But that's why it mentions here the carcasses. And whatsoever goeth upon his paws among all manner of beasts. So any animals that have paws, your dogs, your cats, right, so on and so forth. Your lions, bears, you're supposed to be eating those. Among all manner of beasts that go on all four, those are unclean unto you. Whoso toucheth their carcass shall be unclean until even. And this is probably why Samson neglected to mention to his parents that the honey that he had given them came from the carcass of the lion he had slain before, because it would make you unclean. And he that beareth the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the even. They are unclean unto you. So it makes you unclean until the evening. These also shall be unclean unto you among the creeping things that creep upon the earth. So now these are like the creatures that are, scurry, you could say, on the earth, right? So it's not restricted to just insects, because it says it creepeth. That means it's like um its movements are very low or close to the ground. Think of like the difference, like how you have SUV versus like a sedan. But like if you have like a Honda Civic, for example, that's really, really low down to the ground, it would be like an animal that creepeth versus, I don't know, a freaking truck, with monster tires that is much higher. Even though it goes on all four, it's not a creeping thing. So here it gives some examples that creep upon the earth: the weasel and the mouse and the tortoise after his kind. So those, they're very low to the ground, but they're very quick, of course. Well, the mouse at least. Um, and the ferret, and the chameleon, and the lizard, and the snail, and the mole. These are unclean. These are unclean to you among all that creep. Whosoever doth touch them when they be dead shall be unclean until the even, so their dead body. And upon whatsoever any of them when and upon whatsoever any of them when they are dead doth fall. So if the dead animal, the dead unclean creature here, falls or touches anything, it shall be unclean, whether it be any vessel of wood, or raiment, or skin, which is like leather, right? Something made of skin, or a sack, right? Like your water pouch or your wine sack, which they made in the past, like that. It says here, or sack, whatsoever vessel it be, wherein any work is done, it must be put into water, and it shall be unclean until the even, so it shall be cleansed. So if a dead mouse or dead rat or weasel or whatever touches your stuff, that thing is gonna become unclean, and it has to be washed, and then it'll be unclean until evening. And every earthen vessel whereinto any of them falleth. So if it falls in your pot, your oven, your whatever, whatsoever is in it shall be unclean, and ye shall break it. So because back then, like your vase, your pots, those will often be made of earth, right? The potter would make them. So if a dead animal fell in there, of what was just mentioned here, it's unclean. You got to break it. Of all meat which may be eaten, that on which such water cometh shall be unclean. So imagine you have a vase, it has water in it. This dead animal fell into the water in the vase. If that water touches any meat or anything that you can eat, that thing becomes unclean. And all drink that may be drunk in every such vessel shall be unclean. So whatever water or liquid was in that vessel, it's unclean. And everything whereupon any part of the carcass falleth shall be unclean, whether it be oven or ranges for pots, and that ranges for pots is going into your stove. They shall be broken down, for they are unclean, and shall be unclean unto you. Nevertheless, a fountain or pit wherein there is plenty of water, so like a well or a cistern, shall be clean, because now, like, that's not expendable. That's not something you can just, you know destroy and cover up and seal and then call it a day. So that is something that the life of the society or community depended on. So here it would still be clean. Obviously you'd have to get that carcass out. But it says here, but that which toucheth the carcass shall be unclean. Right? So anything else that toucheth that carcass, that dead body of that unclean thing, is going to become unclean. And if any part of the carcass fall upon any sowing seed, which is to be sown, it shall be clean. So you're planting, right? You have some seed, whatever kind of seed it is. If the seed is dry and this carcass touched it, then the seed is going to be fine. It's still clean. You can use it. But if any water be put upon the seed, and any part of the carcass fall thereon, it shall be unclean unto you. Right? So in the NKJV it says, but if water is put on the seed, and if a part, actually, what's this, verse 38? Let me pull this up in the NLT. Let's go back to that. Yeah, it says, but if the seed is wet when the carcass falls on it, the seed will be defiled. And if any beast of which ye may eat die, ye that toucheth the carcass thereof shall be unclean until even. Okay, and in the NLT says, if an animal you are permitted to eat dies, and you touch its carcass, you will be defiled until evening. So this is different, right? This is like different until, like the difference here is like you have an animal that dies of itself versus one that you kill. Okay. So it says here, and he that eateth of the carcass of it shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until the even. He also that beareth the carcass of it shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until the even. Right? So if you eat any of its meat or carry away its carcass, you must wash your clothes, and you will remain defiled until evening. And every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth shall be an abomination; it shall not be eaten. That's your, like it says in the NLT, all small. So that also includes, in this case, like you're not gonna eat a ladybug, right? A lizard, right? A gecko. Those also fall under creeping things. All small animals that scurry along the ground are detestable, and you must never eat them. Whatsoever goeth upon the belly, and whatsoever goeth upon all four, or whatsoever hath more feet among all creeping things that creep upon the earth. So your snakes, right? Your Komodo dragons, right? Those kinds of creatures, they all fall under here. Because going upon the belly is to slither. You're not supposed to eat that. Your millipedes, centipedes, those kind of bugs, because they have, as it says, more feet among all the creeping things. You're not supposed to eat those, right? Them shall ye not eat, for they are an abomination. Verse 43, ye shall not make yourselves abominable with any creeping thing that creepeth, neither shall ye make yourselves unclean with them, that ye should be defiled thereby. For I am the Lord Yahweh, your God. Ye shall therefore sanctify yourselves, and ye shall be holy, for I am holy. Neither shall ye defile yourselves with any manner of creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. For I am the Lord Yahweh that bringeth you up out of the land of Egypt to be your God. Ye shall therefore be holy, for I am holy. This is the law of the beasts, and of the fowls, and of every living creature that moveth in the waters, and of every creature that creepeth upon the earth, to make a difference between the unclean and the clean, and between the beast that may be eaten and the beast that may not be eaten. And that is the end of the book of Leviticus, the 11th chapter, going into the lawful and unlawful animals, that may be eaten, whether on land or in the sea or in the sky or in the ground. So, Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodesh. And until next time, Shalom.